Hi, this is Miranda from Lily and Rose Homestead. Thank you for joining me in this video today. We're going to be harvesting radishes and I'm going to show you two different ways to use them. We are going to make refrigerator pickled radishes and we're also going to use the greens to make a really nice peppery pesto sauce. It's really great to garden and to grow your own food, but it's also really important to learn how you can use these different vegetables and how you can preserve them for later use, as a lot of times we're harvesting larger amounts all at the same time, and really how many radishes can you eat at one time? Although we are not water bath canning these radishes, and they will not be shelf stable, they will still be good in your refrigerator for up to a month. When you're looking in your garden for the best radishes to pick, make sure that they're sticking out of the ground and that you're picking the largest ones. Some of the smaller ones, if they're not getting enough light, may already go to seed, so you don't want those if they're really long and stringy looking. Also, once you've picked some of the larger ones out, it gives the smaller ones room to grow. Here's the radishes once they've been picked. These wire baskets are really handy actually for when you're doing harvest in the garden. You can wash the stuff right in your yard and everything drains out of them before you take them into the house. And especially radishes, they are really dirty when you pick them. So I like to get the majority of the dirt and bugs off before I drag them into the house. But I will show you how to thoroughly wash the leaves and everything before we are going to process them. Once you have them in your kitchen, it's time to give them a really thorough wash. I like to fill 2 bowls full of really cold water. One is going to be for the radish greens to make the pesto, and the other one is going to wash the root to make your radish refrigerator pickles. Also, putting the greens in this really cold water will help to perk them up a bit, because when you pull them out of the ground, they wilt pretty quickly, and you do want them to perk up a bit before we start to use them. These ones right here are long and stringy and they don't make the best pesto. They're probably already pretty bitter. Now I'm just going to give the radish root another good wash because you just want to make sure that you get all the dirt off of them, and then we'll start slicing them up. Before you get going with slicing up, you can take one of your mason jars that you're going to store them in the fridge with and wash it with really hot soapy water. And once I'm done doing that, I fill it with water and I put it in the microwave for a minute or two, because when you put the hot brine into the glass, you don't want it to shatter. So make sure that your mason jar is nice and hot, and that will keep it from cracking. For this recipe, you're going to need 1 large clove of garlic. I'm only filling 1 mason jar with radishes, so I'm only going to use 1 garlic, but I usually put 1 in each mason jar that you do. And then you're going to start chopping your radishes up, taking the ends off. This can be done with a knife, a mandolin, or a food processor if you have it. I'm going to do it a couple of ways in this video just for information's sake, but there's lots of different ways to do it. I cut mine in slices. You can do them in chunks if you want to. We usually use them for salads, so I like to do it in nice thin slices and they stay pretty crunchy. Now I'll just show you with the food processor. It does save quite a bit of time to do it this way, and it does get them nice and thin, so I do prefer to use this. And I also like using this for salsa making and everything like that, but I mean, a knife works just as well too if you don't have a food processor. We compost our scraps, or some of the radish greens can also be fed to the rabbits. For your brine, you're going to need apple cider vinegar or white vinegar, 5% acidity. I like to use apple cider vinegar with the mother in it just because it has a lot of good bacteria in it. You're going to need 1 cup of water. I like to use a 1 cup to 1 cup ratio with vinegar. a funnel to help get the brine into your mason jar. It just makes it easier. A ladle. I'm using table salt for this, but you can also use Himalayan salt, whatever you prefer. Pickling spice, you can buy it already pre-made. And honey, which I like to buy local varieties. I don't follow a really rigid recipe for this because we're not water bath canning it. If we were water bath canning, you have to follow a very precise recipe to ensure that you don't have botulism in your jar, which is a very serious bacteria spore that can be deadly. So we aren't doing that here. So I just use 1 cup of my vinegar to 1 cup of water, or a similar ratio to that. If you don't want it as vinegary, you can use 2 cups of water. And then I use a little bit of pickling spice, about a teaspoon of salt, and 1 to 2 tablespoons of honey. And I find for my family that's a very good tasting recipe. We like that a lot. Bring your brine to a boil for a few minutes, and then you're ready to put your radishes in a jar. Now you're going to put your radishes into your mason jar. Make sure your mason jar is still warm to the touch out of the microwave, because you don't want your glass to crack, and putting hot brine liquid in it will make it crack if it's still at room temperature. This is the ones I made today, and some I made about a week ago. You'll notice it turns the vinegar very pink. These are so delicious on a salad, on a sandwich, any way you can think to use them. They are so good. We try and put all of our veggie scraps into the compost to make sure that we have the best compost for the next year's garden crop. For the radish green pesto, you're going to wash your leaves very, very thoroughly. You're going to keep filling them with that nice cold water, dumping them, filling them again. You don't want any dirt. This recipe calls for 3 to 4 cups of radish greens, half of a lemon, and you're going to juice it, approximately 3 cloves of garlic, macadamia nuts, you use about half a cup, or sunflower seeds, pepper to taste, olive oil. I like the extra light tasting. We also use Parmesan cheese. You can also do the fresh grated stuff if you have it on hand. And table salt, Himalayan salt, whatever you prefer to use. You're going to combine all of your ingredients into your food processor. If you don't have food processor, you can chop it and stuff like that, but it just is really time saving to have this. This is one of the few kitchen gadgets that I have and that I love and that I use on a pretty regular basis. Although I don't use an exact recipe here, it's a little bit of eyeballing. I will put the recipe in the comments just so that you can reference that if you need to. While you're making your pesto, you can keep stopping and just checking with a spoon to see if you like the taste. Sometimes you need to add a little bit more oil or a few more nuts or whatever you think. And if you would like, you can also freeze this recipe. It lasts really well in the freezer. If you're going to freeze it, maybe don't add the nuts and the Parmesan and do that after, but we just keep it in the fridge and it really doesn't last that long here. This can be used on pasta. It can go with different types of meats as a topping. It really is very versatile and something that's great to have on hand in the fridge. Thank you so much for watching our video today. If you'd like to see more, like and subscribe, and you can come along this journey with us. Thanks.